Your dog tilts its head when you talk to it. Ears up, eyes locked on your face like it's trying to catch a word just out of reach. It looks like understanding. Dogs aren't the only ones doing something like this either. There's a bird who used real grammar, an ape who learned language nobody directly taught her, and a hormone loop between you and your dog that biologically shouldn't even be possible. We're getting to all of it. Point at one of two cups hiding food under one, and a dog will usually walk straight to the right cup, just from watching your finger. Chimpanzees, our closest living relatives, mostly can't do this. That's strange enough on its own, but here's what makes it stranger. Even wolves raised from birth in human homes, bottle-fed by people, still fail this test far more often than dogs do. Psychologist Brian Hare confirmed exactly this in a series of trials at Harvard in the early 2000s, later continued at Duke University. Dogs read a pointed finger almost as naturally as human toddlers do. Wolves, genetically almost identical to dogs, don't. This isn't general intelligence. Wolves are plenty smart. Somewhere in the tens of thousands of years dogs spent living inside human spaces, evolution rewired them specifically to track our faces, our hands, our eyes, the way we track each other. Which raises an obvious question. If dogs are built to read us that well, are they actually understanding what we mean, or just getting extremely good at guessing? Here's where it gets genuinely strange. Show a dog named Chaser a pile of stuffed animals she's never seen arranged that way before. Say one name. She retrieves that exact toy, including ones she'd only heard once, days earlier. By the time researchers at Wofford College formally studied her in 2011, Chaser knew the names of over 1,000 distinct objects. Not tricks. Names. That's not mimicry. That's something closer to vocabulary. But before you get comfortable with that word, understanding, there's a warning built into animal science. And it's 100 years old. In the early 1900s, a horse named Clever Hans could supposedly solve arithmetic in front of huge crowds, tapping out the correct answer with his hoof. Nobody could explain it. Then a psychologist finally figured it out. Hans wasn't doing math. He was reading his handler's posture, a tiny unconscious tensing of the shoulders the instant the tapping reached the right number. The human gave away the answer without knowing it. Hans wasn't solving anything. He'd just learned to read a person so closely that the person became the answer key. This is exactly the trap Chaser's researchers had to rule out. New toys, blind trials, nobody in the room able to signal an answer. Because an animal reading subtle human cues is not the same thing as an animal understanding meaning. One is a mirror, the other is comprehension. So which is it? The clearest answer doesn't come from a dog at all. It comes from a bonobo named Kanzi. Researcher Sue Savage Rumbaugh was trying to teach Kanzi's mother a symbol-based language using a keyboard of abstract icons. The mother struggled for years. Kanzi, still an infant, just watched from the sidelines. Then one day, without ever being formally taught, he started using the symbols correctly himself. He went on to understand hundreds of spoken English words and in controlled tests respond correctly to entirely new sentences. Instructions nobody had ever said to him before, like, put the soap on the apple. That's not a memorized command. That's parsing structure he had never encountered. Here's the part most people never hear about, though. For sure, the strangest evidence isn't about words at all. Around the same years researchers were studying Chaser's vocabulary, a separate question was being asked in Japan. Is the bond between a dog and its owner built the same way a parent bonds with a newborn? In 2015, researcher Miho Nagasawa at Azabu University measured something nobody expected. When dogs and their owners looked into each other's eyes, both species' oxytocin levels rose together, the same hormone that spikes when a parent and infant lock eyes for the first time. Wolves raised by humans showed nothing. Only dogs did, which means the feeling you get when your dog looks at you isn't a metaphor. It's a real, measurable, mutual hormonal loop. A bonding circuit built for parents and infants, somehow rewired over thousands of years to run between two completely different species. But if dogs can do this, what about the animals that never got 10,000 years living beside us? That's where an African gray parrot named Alex comes in. Over 30 years, researcher Irene Pepperberg found Alex could identify colors, shapes, and materials he'd never been shown before, count small sets of objects, and do something that looked a lot like refusal, turning his head and saying no when he didn't feel like doing a task. His last words to Pepperberg, the night before he died in 2007, were the same words he said every single night. "You be good. I love you. See you tomorrow. Nobody knows for certain if he understood those words the way a person would, but he chose them every night for years. So, do animals actually understand us? Not the way we understand each other. Not with our grammar, our nuance, our sense of past and future stitched into every sentence, but something real happens in that gap. A dog tracking your face because 10,000 years rewired it too. A parrot choosing the right words at exactly the right moment. An ape parsing a sentence she'd never heard just from paying close enough attention. So the next time your dog tilts its head at you, mid-sentence, eyes locked on yours, that's not nothing. It's a species reaching most of the way across a gap that's existed for millions of years using a channel built one shared glance at a time.